Breakdown is presented by John's Sewer and Drain Cleaning, the name to know when the drains don't flow.
Patriots have dropped to 4-12. They've guaranteed a last-place finish for the first time since 2000 as they drop it in Buffalo in their road finale by a 27-21 final.
Bottom line, you make some plays in this game? Yeah, you did. Your defense played its tail off again. Can't commit 4 turnovers in the first half and expect to beat anybody, especially this team in their place. I felt like this game was over end of the first.
The Patriots lose in demoralizing fashion on Sunday to the Bills. Here's Bill Belichick, what he had to say after the fact.
Obviously, terrible first 20 minutes. Our guys really hung in there, battled away, but obviously, just gave them too big of a lead. Just couldn't quite get it back. Turnovers, obviously, a big story in the game. Knocked the ball off Allen a couple times, and we couldn't get it. So, they had a big edge there.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome into the Breakdown. Phil Perry, Ted Johnson. Ted, not a happy Sunday for Bill Belichick and his team in Buffalo. Wanted to ask you first, because we just heard some of his post-game comments there. What was your reaction to what the head coach had to say afterwards?
Yeah, I was an interesting. Just the tone of Bill Belichick's, I thought, answers in that postgame was interesting. It almost felt like, Phil, the way he was laying out the kind of the game, the details of that game, as if he was maybe making a case to Robert Kraft at the end of the season why he should be the next head coach. Basically, kind of talking about the turnovers. That's the quarterback's fault. Talking about the defense kind of doing its part, but just not enough on offense, and just making excuses and saying, hey, we were competitive. The guys fought hard, but it wasn't good enough. That's a repetitive theme that you'll see. And Bill Belichick, to me, was kind of, in that presser, was laying a foundation and blueprint for what he's going to say to Robert Kraft at the end of the season.
How did you feel? How does Ted Johnson feel about how that game in Buffalo reflected on Bill Belichick? Do you look more at the 4 turnovers? Do you look more at the scoreboard after the fact? Some of the players saying, hey, we fought until the very end. How do you think that performance reflected on Belichick? Look,
I don't think that game did anything to kind of boost his argument for maybe staying for another year. I really don't. I mean, honestly, it's the same, a lot of recurring themes in this game, Phil. Getting it down to get a lead early by returning that kickoff, but then all the turnovers, putting your team in a hole like that, and then fighting back and making it close. They give the illusion, they have time and time again, not only this year but in the last several years, Phil, that they are close when really they are so far away. And so that's the kind of illusion with these close games, and the competitive word that you're going to hear a lot to maybe make a case for Bill. I just don't see it. I think this team's got a lot of problems, and I think there was a lot of you saw it in the game the other day.
You make a great point earlier when you say, listen, Bill Belichick might be crafting an argument already for whenever that end of the season meeting comes between Belichick and Robert Kraft. We had to deal with injuries, maybe poor quarterback play. We're not coaching turnovers. Those things happen in the game because we're just not talented enough at that position. There might be some easily crafted, no pun intended, counter arguments by Robert Kraft. But I want you to put yourself in his shoes. After watching that game, they were in Buffalo yesterday, Robert and Jonathan Kraft. What are you thinking about in terms of the future of your head coach as you sit in your office today?
Look, I'm thinking of the trends. I'm thinking of the last 4 years. I'm not thinking of just this year. I'm not thinking about future events, maybe breaking records, that kind of thing. I'm worried about what is the best decision for my football team. And right now, that decision for me would have been made exactly when it seemed like it was reported by Tom Curran, was after that Germany game. To me, that was kind of the end of the tenure for Bill Belichick, in my opinion. That's when I think it was pretty convincing to me that it was probably time to move on. And so it seems like the Krafts are thinking the same thing. Nothing that's happened in these last few games would convince me that you need to change course and maybe bring them back another year. That ship has sailed. I just don't see any coming back from that.
We all would love to be flies on the wall for that conversation between those two guys.
Oh, yeah.
We? And I think a lot of it could come down to, how does Bill Belichick approach that meeting? What is his message? Is he willing to take any blame over how things have gone over the last couple of years? Very interesting to find out. Okay, we're going to dive back into the game now. There was a game yesterday. We're going to dig deep on this thing. The biggest key, obviously, the turnovers. 4 total. Bailey Zappe had 3 picks in the previous 3 games. Zappe had 2 total turnovers, but those 3 picks Sunday included a pick 6, which resulted in 20 points. So the 3 total turnovers, 20 points for Buffalo. Here's what Zappe had to say after.
It was tough. You can't win football games when you turn the ball over. It's kind of like the same thing the last few weeks. We're won a Pittsburgh game, it's the first half. Denver game was the second half. This game was the second half. We're playing good. We're not putting two halves together as entire offense and executing together and communication-wise and all those things. I mean, if you take away those 4 turnovers, what happens? Who knows? Can't go back, can't change it. Just got to move on. Got to fix the mistakes.
It's time now for Board Games, brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, the name to know when the drains don't flow. 3 interceptions in Buffalo for Bailey Zappe, Ted. One of them, though, maybe not his fault. We're going to get to that here. You got hung out to dry written at the top of the board. Tell us why.
And that'll be directed more towards a man, Jalen Reagor, who's going to be the focal point of this play. I'll get to him in 1 second. But this is the 3rd interception, like you mentioned. Bailey Zappe just throwing to his left. It was an overload rush, okay? The Buffalo Bills do a great job of blitzing and bringing guys, secondary guys from the second level into their blitzes and confusing the Patriots all day. They do an overload blitz on the left side. You're seeing a lot of teams, Phil, do these overload blitzes to the Patriots. Why? They're doing it to create confusion because they know the offensive line has had issues, but mostly because it forces the quarterback and the wide receivers to communicate and to see plays on the same page. And they know there's inexperience at both of these positions, so teams can really take advantage of that inexperience and rush these type of blitzes where the Patriots just really don't have the ability to pick it up just because of their youth, all right? So here's what we got right here. So pre-snap, it's important when you look at the alignment from the 2 DBs right here on this left side. We're going to focus on this left side. It's Tripp's right. We don't need to worry about that. But pre-snap, what you see here is the cornerback up in press coverage, the safety back, okay? So it's right now, it's one play they got on, whatever the call is, they're supposed to run it. But what happens is these guys stem late. They stem their alignment. They change their alignment post-snap. And when you see this cornerback, and you're the wide receiver to this side, to the overload blitz side, when you see this cornerback drop and this safety come up, you got to know, like the quarterback knows, because Bailey Zappe was looking to him the whole way, that you got to get your head around and have a predetermined route before the game. Any hot reads, it's a hitch, it's a slant, it's just a stop, and I'll throw it to you. But they were on the same page. Jalen Reagor runs a 9 route all the way. He's sitting his head on the goalpost when the guy covering him, Douglas, catches the ball because he sees him throw it to him. He doesn't even have he has his eyes on the quarterback the whole time, Phil. He's never turns his back to the quarterback because he knows that he can squat on the play because the safety is going to be coming down late. They're going to try and block. They're not going to have him accounted for in the protection. He's going to be a free rusher that the quarterback's responsible for, and they're probably not going to be able to execute that hot read because of the inexperience. So he squats on it, and he's anticipating the ball more than the receiver is. He picks the ball off, runs it back for a pick 6. And it was just this kind of miscommunication that's plagued the Patriots all season long. Just the continuity hasn't been there all season. And this is a big play that makes an example of that.
Talent's been an issue for the Patriots all year long at the receiver position, but also chemistry with the quarterbacks, with 2 quarterbacks in and out. Familiarity with the offense, with receivers off the street like Jalen Reagor in and out. Familiarity with the system, the scheme, and the quarterback, a critical issue on that particular play. Great stuff there from Tim. Mental errors still plaguing this team. It's week 17, Tuesday. 6 o'clock. No mental errors here. It's Quick Slants. Tommy Curran shares his takes on the Patriots as they get ready to wrap up the season against the Jets. It's presented by your local New England Honda dealers. After the break, we're going to take a quick look at the defense and Alex Austin. Who? Yes, Alex Austin, his pick. That's on Board Games coming up. Stay tuned.
The Breakdown is brought to you in part by your local New England Honda dealers.
Welcome back to The Breakdown. Despite the win Sunday, not a good game for Josh Allen. He's had a lot of success previously against New England, but he was just 15 for 30 for 169 yards and an interception in the matchup Sunday. Now let's hear from Patriots cornerback Alex Austin on what he saw when he picked off Josh Allen.
Shout out to the coaches and the defense, man. That was a play that we were talking about all week, and just when I got that, when I saw the post, I had looked behind me and I felt the wheel behind me. So shout out to the coaching staff and the guys around me for making sure I was prepared.
We're back out here for Board Games, brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning. The name to know when the drains don't flow. Proper preparation prevents poor performance, Ted. We heard it from Alex Austin right there. They practiced this play that ends up resulting in a pick for him off of Josh Allen. Alex Austin, Texas theme here, not his first rodeo. Get it. Break this one down for us, though, Ted, because this is a fascinating play.
Yeah, this is a great play by Alex here, and it's really you can tell he's well prepared. You can tell that the defense was anticipating this, and there was a lot of indicators that the Buffalo Bills came out with that would signal to the Patriots that this play was probably coming, and the guys played it perfectly. All right, so here's some of the indicators, some of the pre-snap reads that the defense saw from the Buffalo Bills offense, Phil, that you got to be aware of. Okay, they come out in a heavy personnel. All right, they make the tight end as a tackle. So they're bringing out a personnel grouping with a tackle, a tight end, and a fullback and a running back to make you think that they're probably going to run in this situation. Heavy personnel, you bring in bigger bodies to run. All right, a lot of teams like to play action and take shots on that. The Patriots know that, and so they were prepared for it. They actually called a coverage that's safe for the deep ball, which is cover 2. This hugely heavy formation, teams like to anticipate the run and play a single high safety. The Patriots, anticipating this play, played 2 high safeties, and it paid off, okay? So pre-snap, you have Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, on this side. He motions over to the left side, and it's very important to know that it's Dalton Kincaid, who's an excellent receiver for them. He's a tight end who's really a receiver, very fast tight end, and so this is the guy that they really want to hit in this route, or this 2-man combination. All right, so you bring in heavy personnel, and you do a hard run fake, which they did, to the running back, off to this side right here, to the left side. Try and sell that it's a run, trying to get these guys to bite and so that they can hit a big play behind them. The Patriots were not fooled by it. By the hard run fake up here by the quarterback, he drops back, the fullback crosses over here to protect. And so you have a 2-man route combination that Alex Austin recognized and made the play on. And this is the route combination. You have a deep post by this outside wide receiver, followed by the secondary route is a wheel route run by Dalton Kincaid, a very fast tight end, and they're hoping to get this half-field safety, who is Alex Austin, to bite on this deep over and carry him so far that he can't react to this play. He did not take the cheese. Here comes the deep post. You see Alex Austin go with him up to a certain point. He passes him off to Jalen Mills, and then here comes the wheel route by Dalton Kincaid. Martu Mapu was on it. He was on it pretty good, but he had a great play by his partner right here, Alex Austin, who peeled back. Once he saw this secondary route come through, he turned around and made a big play on the ball, interception. Well prepared, a lot of indicators telling them which play was coming, and that they had practiced it and it came up in the game. Is a really good feeling for the player to be able to execute what they talked about and did in practice. And it happened in the game, and they did it perfectly.
Really good feeling for him as well, Ted, because he was drafted by the Buffalo Bills back in the spring, picked up by the Texans after he was released in training camp. He eventually makes his way to New England. Highlight real play there against his old team. It's time now for the report card. My report card is presented, as always, by the Massachusetts School of Law. The defense getting some high marks, deservedly so. The linebackers with an A, defensive line with an A-, the secondary with a B+. But on the offensive side, Bailey Zappe gets a C, sort of a mixed day for him. The offensive line with the C-. And this leads us into a look at how Bailey Zappe performed when he was being blitzed. In short, not good. He was 12 for 17 for 165 yards when he wasn't being blitzed, but just 4 for 9 for 44 yards, 2 picks, and a quarterback rating of 19.9. That's just bad, folks. When the Bills blitzed, That leads us into Ted Neek, which is presented by Shaw's. Shaw's is, of course, perfecting the art of fresh. We have our friend Trenny Casey out here with us to demonstrate. And Ted, I know you wanted to talk about that Bills blitz because obviously it gave Bailey Zappe some problems yesterday.
It sure did, Phil. And so the Bills and a lot of teams are kind of blitzing the Patriots lately from the secondary, from the second line of defense, from safeties, linebackers, and it's really confusing the offensive line. And so Bailey Zappe's getting under pressure a lot. He was sacked 3 times in this game, and 2 of the sacks came off of this second-level blitz, okay, that a lot of teams are doing, okay? So the Buffalo Bills, Trinity is going to be a Patriots guard, okay? Just put any guard right there. Antonio Mafi would probably be a good one to start with. He's the one that kind of got beat on these. The guards right here, they are supposed to just build a wall with their center and their tackle, okay? So they got guys crossing their faces, and sometimes they got to just pass off that crosser and then come for the guy that's coming on the second level. And a lot of times these linemen are missing that. So let's show the folks at home what we're talking about here. So the Buffalo Bills, I'm playing the defense on the Buffalo Bills. Phil is my defensive lineman on the Buffalo Bills. Trini is a guard for the New England Patriots, okay? All right, and so you'll see the linebacker on the second level lined up over the guard right here, and then his defensive lineman is lined outside of the guard, okay? What a lot of times the Bills will do is they start to sugar this gap, getting the attention of this guard to maybe think that they're going to come right through their gap. And what happens, Phil, you ready?
I'm all set.
At the snap of the ball, what happens, said, hike, is this lineman goes across the face of this lineman. And so all of a sudden, this secondary guy comes from behind, and it goes right off the hip of that lineman. This guard right here should keep his eyes and his shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage. And a lot of times they're getting just sucked in by that defensive lineman that is crossing their face. And so they're giving up that secondary rush right there and getting pressure on the quarterback. And that isn't good. That shows the inexperience and probably just inefficiency overall from that offensive line.
Some coaching changes along the offensive line, too. We're going to talk about some personnel changes on the offensive line. Trenny, thank you very much for your help with this. You fared much better, I think, than the Patriots' offensive line in moments in that game yesterday. Mm-hmm. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Trent Brown and his absence. He's a healthy scratch yesterday, Ted. He's dealt with injuries all year, illness at times, but he was off the injury report. He doesn't play. Maybe that leads to some of the pressure numbers that we saw in that game yesterday. When he's at his best, Ted, he's one of their best offensive linemen. What do you make of Trent Brown not playing in Buffalo? I
mean, that's a curious decision. Clearly, you start to wonder that something's going on behind the scenes. A healthy scratch. Trent Brown is, when he's motivated, Phil, he's a top 5 lineman in this league. When he's not motivated, one of the worst. And just, the buy-in has been an issue with maybe Trent Brown all season long. He held out, or had a hold in, if you will, at the beginning of training camp and was able to get a $2 million boost by doing that hold in. He's just had issues with this coaching staff. And to me, the player that best represents the problems for the Patriots in 2023 is Trent Brown. Bill Belichick, to me, should have gone and handled business with Trent Brown. Hey, what can we do to work this out? You don't seem motivated. You don't seem like you want to be here. What can we do to figure this out? He didn't do that. And so you had a disgruntled and just uninspired Trent Brown all season long. And that, to me, permeated throughout the entire offense for this season.
Safe to say, some different corners of that locker room in terms of their motivations this year. Sure, there are guys that are fighting and that love Bill Belichick and are playing for Bill Belichick right now, but certainly the buy-in that you mentioned has been lacking for a good chunk of this year in chunks of that locker room. I think that's safe to say. Coming up, 6:30, tune in for our Bella Early Edition with Trenny, our friend Trenny Casey, who is just with us. She'll have much more on this Patriots loss to the Bills coming up right after the show. After the break, meanwhile, the Patriots are headed into their final week with a lot on the line. Not a playoff spot, but draft position and the future direction of the franchise. So how is the team approaching the week? We discuss next.
6 o'clock kickoff is presented by Shaw's, perfecting the art of fresh. The Breakdown is presented by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, the name to know when the drains don't flow.
Obviously, there's going to be a lot of focus this week on your future, and just was wondering what your level of desire to return to the Patriots is, and if there's been any discussions regarding that.
Yeah, focused on getting ready for the Jets. We haven't played in a long time, and been the whole season. So, work on the Jets here and get ready to go.
All right, Ted. Well, there you have it. There's Bill Belichick talking about how he is going to plan moving forward. How do you think the Patriots should be planning? And this is our Monday Night Spotlight, of course, which is presented by TouchView Interactive Display Panels. Those are available at the Oakers Company. We know Bill Belichick's going to try to win, right? They're playing the Jets. Of course he's going to try to win. We know the players are playing for themselves. Maybe they're playing for their future contracts. They're going to give it their all. How do you handle this game, though, if you're ownership? If you're Robert Kraft and you really would rather have, say, the 2 or 3 pick as opposed to the 6 or 7, do you say anything this week leading into the game?
Ooh, man, I tell you, this is a fascinating story in my opinion, Phil. What's going to happen this week? I just think the owner, that it's worthy of a discussion from the owner to Bill Belichick. When you have the potential to get the 2nd overall pick versus the 7th, that's a big swing right there. And so to me, and I never thought I would say this, but if you're going to lose a game at all, maybe try and lose a game, this would be the game. And Phil, you do it in ways, you engineer it in ways by sitting certain guys down, maybe the Kyle Duggars of the world, the Dietrich Wises of the world, put other guys in there and maybe engineer a loss that way. If I'm the owner, that's just a big swing, either potentially a 2 or the 7th pick. Obviously, you were going to really love your choices more at 2 than you would at 7. So to me, it's worthy of a discussion to just maybe figure out a way to lose this game and not try and win it.
Oh boy, but what you're suggesting is potentially, because Bill Belichick's not interested, I don't think. Right. I don't think he's all that interested in securing the best draft pick possible. So is Robert Kraft going to go down to Bill Belichick's office, knock on the door, and have that difficult conversation? Hey, we need you to sit player X. Christian Barmore, he's been one of the best defensive linemen in the league for the last 2 months. Let's go ahead and rest him and get him ready for 2024, Bill. How do you think that conversation would go?
Boy, it wouldn't go easy, but I tell you what, it's still Robert Kraft is Bill Belichick's boss at the end of the day. And here's the thing, this maybe could have, if you would have maybe addressed the future of Bill Belichick earlier in the season, a lot of people thought after that Germany game that was the time to maybe cut ties with Bill. So it avoids these awkward situations right now that the Patriots find themselves in. If you just maybe would have, parted ways earlier in the season, so now these difficult discussions that we're having don't come up.
When we're back here on the breakdown a week from today, after the regular season finale, are we talking about Bill Belichick as Patriots coach in the past tense, or are we still waiting, in your opinion? There's a report earlier this year from NFL media. It might take a little while for ownership to actually make a decision here.
Boy, Phil, the time is of the essence when it comes to this story. It's going to be a fascinating one, but I don't think they have addressed it at all, and I think it's going to be drug out longer than maybe both parties would hope.
You know what? Not the worst thing in the world for us. Gives us more to talk about. We'll see you next week.